Parents left everything to my golden bro in their will, while I was paying their bills, funding bro. That's the gut punch I got slammed with yesterday, and I'm still choking on it as I write this from my shitty studio apartment in Denver. I'm Jess, 29, and I've been the family mule for years, working double shifts, wiring cash, keeping mom and dad afloat while my brother Nick played prodigal son with a platinum halo. But yesterday, their lawyer dropped the bomb. They're gone, car crash last week, and their will, signed 2 months ago, hands Nick the house, the savings, the whole damn estate. Me. I got a thanks for the support note and a box of mom's old scarves. I'm not just broke. I'm broken, and the worst part? I think Nick knew all along. It hit fast. I was at the diner, mid-shift, grease on my apron, when my phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered, expecting a bill collector, but it was Mr. Hargrove, their lawyer, voice dry as dust. Jess, I'm sorry to inform you, your parents passed. Accident on I-70. We need you at the reading tomorrow. My knees buckled. I dropped a tray of plates, ceramic shattering across the floor. Mom and Dad gone? They'd been frail, sure. Dad's heart, Mom's lungs. But alive, nagging me for rent money just last month. I stammered. What happened? Hargrove sighed. I'll explain in person. 10 a.m., my office. He hung up, leaving me staring at the mess, my boss yelling, my world cracking. I took the red-eye bus from Denver to Boulder, 40 miles of nausea and dread. Mom and Dad's house, our house where I grew up, was a faded ranch style on a quiet street. Mortgage paid off years ago thanks to my loans they never repaid. I'd been sending $500 a month since I was 23. Waitressing, then bartending, scraping by so they wouldn't lose it. Nick. He'd been off finding himself, surfing in Cali, DJing in Vegas, crashing on friends' couches while I played Atlas, holding up their world. Last I heard, he was shacked up with some influencer in LA, posting thirst traps on X. We hadn't talked in 2 years, not since he borrowed my car, totaled it, and ghosted me. Hargrove's office was a sterile box, all wood paneling and stale coffee. I got there at 9:55, hair a mess, still in my work jeans, and Nick was already slouched in a chair, tanned, smirking, wearing a $200 hoodie like he'd won the lottery. He didn't even say hi, just nodded, like I was the help. Hargrove cleared his throat, slid the will across the desk. Your parents updated this in January. To Nicholas, the house, accounts, assets, estimated $450,000. To Jessica, personal effects, per their wishes. I blinked, the words blurring. Personal effects. Hargrove pushed a box at me. Mom's scarves, reeking of her lavender perfume. A note inside, her shaky scrawl. Jess, you've always been strong. Thanks for the support. Love, Mom. That was it. I lost it. What the hell is this? I snapped, voice cracking. I paid their bills, electric, meds, groceries, for years. Nick didn't lift a finger. Nick leaned back, smirking wider. They wanted me secure, Jess. I've got plans. Business stuff. You're good, right? Stable. Stable? I'd been couch surfing for months, pouring every dime into their survival while he planned his Instagram empire. Hargrove shifted, uncomfortable. It's legal, Jess. They had capacity. Their choice. Choice. I grabbed the box, stormed out, Nick calling after me. Don't be mad, sis. I'll hook you up. Back in Denver, I tore through the scarves, rage blinding me. Then something fell out. A folded paper, Dad's handwriting. Jess, if you're reading this, we're sorry. Nick promised to fix things. Ask him about the fund. The fund. What fund? I called him, hands shaking. He picked up, breezy. Yo, Jess, chill. I cut him off. What's the fund, Nick? Dad's note. Explain it. He laughed. Nervous. What note? You're tripping. Look, I gotta go, meeting. Click. My blood boiled. He knew something. Something big, and he was dodging. I texted my friend Mia, who's tight with Nick's ex, Tara. Ask Tara if Nick's hiding cash. Mia hit back an hour later. Tara says Nick's been bragging about a windfall for months. knew your parents were rewriting the will. Said you were funding his comeback. He's got a stash, Jess. Offshore, maybe. Offshore. My head spun. I'd been their ATM, and Nick had been siphoning it, playing them against me. The house, the savings, $450. 000 wasn't even half of what they'd had. Where'd the rest go? I'm sitting here, scarves scattered, Dad's note crumpled in my fist, realizing I didn't just lose my parents. I lost everything to a con I bankrolled. Nick's not just the golden boy, he's the thief, and I'm the fool who paved his way. I couldn't breathe right after Mia's text. Nick bragging about a windfall, calling me the one funding his comeback. The scarves were still strewn across my apartment floor, Dad's note clutched in my hand like a grenade. Ask him about the fund. It was 1 a.m., but sleep wasn't an option. I tore open my laptop, hand shaking, and started digging. Bank statements, old texts, anything tying my years of support to Nick's sudden jackpot. What I found in the next 3 hours cracked my world wider open, and now I'm wondering if my parents were victims or accomplices. First, I pulled up my bank records. Every transfer I'd sent them since 2018, when Dad's heart went south and Mom so he got bad. Over $40,000, wired in chunks. $500 here, $800 there. Labeled, family help, in my shaky optimism. They'd begged, always with guilt trips. Jess, we're short again, Nick's not around, you're our rock. I'd believed it, skipped meals, worked doubles. While Nick posted beach pics captioned, living my truth. But Mia's words gnawed at me. Offshore stash. I cross-checked dates. Every time I sent cash, Nick's ex-posts got flashier. New gear, club nights, a freaking jet ski last year. Coincidence? My gut screamed no. I called Mia, voice a mess. He's got their money, doesn't he? She was half asleep but snapped awake. Tara's sure of it. Said Nick laughed about flipping your hustle. Bragged he'd turn your handouts into millions. He's been cozying up to some finance bro in LA, shady type. Tara dumped him, 'cause he got cagey about cash. Flipping my hustle? I'd funded their lights, their meds. Nick flipped nothing but lies. Get Tara on the phone, I said. Mia hesitated. She's pissed at him but scared. He threatened her when she asked too much. I didn't care. Try. While Mia worked, I texted Nick again. Fund. Now, what'd you do? No reply. Just read at 1:47 a.m. I pictured him smirking in some LA penthouse, my money lining his pockets. Then my phone buzzed. Not Nick, but Hargrove, the lawyer. Jess, we need to talk. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. urgent. My pulse spiked. Urgent after dropping the will bomb? I shot back. About what? He replied, estate discrepancies. Bring any records you have. Discrepancies? The $450,000 Nick got didn't match what I knew. Mom and Dad had savings closer to $700,000 last I'd seen, plus the house. Where'd the rest go? I dug deeper, pulling an old email from Dad, 2022, a rare thanks with a bank statement attached by mistake. Their savings, $682,000. I compared it to Hargrove's figure, $250, 000 missing, at least. My help couldn't account for that. They'd lived lean, no big spends. Unless, Nick. I called their bank, played the grieving daughter card, and got a clerk to slip. Account activity spiked last year, big transfers out. You'd need a subpoena for details. Transfers. To Nick. Offshore. My head throbbed. I'd been their lifeline, and he'd been their leech. Mia texted at 3 a.m. Tara's in. Meet her tomorrow, noon, Boulder Cafe. She's got screenshots, Nick's texts, bank shit. Says he's untouchable now. Untouchable? I'd see about that. I crashed for 2 hours, woke with grit in my eyes, and hauled my records to Hargrove's. He looked rattled, tie loose, papers scattered. Jess, he started. Your parents' estate, it's off. Bank flagged withdrawals. $300, 000, moved last year to an account I can't trace. Will says Nick gets all assets, but this predates it. I think he got to them early. I slammed my records down. I paid their bills. $40,000 over years. Nick got handouts too, right? Hargrove winced. They never said, but yes, checks to him, sporadic. I assumed gifts. Now I'm not sure. Gifts my ass. I'd funded their survival, and Nick funded his scam. He knew about the will, I said. Tara's got proof, he bragged. Hargrove paled. If he coerced them, that's fraud. But we need evidence. Concrete. I left, head buzzing, and hit the cafe. Tara was there, nervous, blonde hair tucked under a cap, clutching her phone. Jess, I'm sorry, she blurted. Nick's a snake. Look. She slid screenshots across. Nick to some guy. She's still paying, all we're set. And a bank app pic. Cayman Islands, $320,000 balance, dated 6 months ago. My vision blurred. That's my money, I choked. Tara nodded. He played your parents, said he'd invest for them, got them to sign stuff. They trusted him. The cafe spun. I'd been slaving while Nick spun gold for my sweat, convincing mom and dad I was just strong enough to lose. But Tara's next words stopped me cold. He's coming back tomorrow, closing a deal. Said it's final, whatever that means. Nick's untouchable? Not if I get him first. Tara's screenshots were a Molotov cocktail to my sanity. Nick's smug texts, that Cayman account flashing $320,000, all while I'd been bleeding cash to keep mom and dad breathing. I left the cafe with her promise to send more, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone. It was 1 p.m., and Nick was coming back to Boulder tomorrow for some final deal. I had less than 24 hours to figure out what he'd stolen, how he'd conned them, and whether I could claw anything back, or at least make him bleed for it. But what I walked into next flipped the script from theft to something darker. I called Hargrove on the way to my bus. Voice raw. Nick's got $320,000 offshore. Proof from his ex. He's back tomorrow, final deal. What's my move? Hargrove sucked in a breath. Jess, that's huge. If he coerced them, we can challenge the will. But, final deal. That's not just money. He's moving something big. Bring everything to me now. I agreed, but first I hit Mia. Nick's landing tomorrow. Tail him if you can. Find out where he's going. She texted back. On it. Be careful, he's slippery. Back at my apartment, I spread it all out. Bank records, Tara's screenshots, Dad's note, piecing the puzzle. My $40,000 was the tip. Those sporadic checks Hargrove mentioned to Nick could have been more, funneled through lies about investments. I called the bank again, this time with venom. My parents are dead, their money's gone. Give me something. The clerk caved, voice hushed. Last transfer, $200,000, 6 months ago, to a shell company, NR Holdings. No address, just a P.O. box in L.A. NR. Nicholas Ryan. My brother's initials. My fists clenched. He'd drained them dry, and I'd been the idiot footing the bill. Then my phone pinged, an email from Tara, subject, more. Attachments. Texts from Nick to an unknown number, dated last month. She's clueless, funds locked, closing soon. Meet me in B, March 9th. Tomorrow, March 9th. Another, they signed, didn't even read it, easy. My parents, signing their lives away to Nick's charm. A photo too, Nick with a wiry guy, slick suit, outside a Boulder storage unit, time-stamped January. The will's rewrite month. My gut screamed, that's where the fund lived, not just cash, but something physical. I hauled ass to Hargrove's, bursting in at 5 p.m. He pored over Tara's files, face grim. This is fraud, Jess. Coercion, maybe forgery. NR Holdings? Shells like that hide assets. Money, property, anything. We can freeze it with this, but final deal, he's liquidating fast. I slammed the storage unit photo down. This. He's got something there. Boulder. I'm going tonight. Hargrove grabbed my arm. Jess, no, police now. If he's moving it, he's desperate. Dangerous. I shook him off. I've lost everything. I'm not waiting. I borrowed Mia's beat-up Civic, hit Boulder by 8 p.m., and staked out the storage place. You store it, a maze of rusted units off the highway. Mia texted, Nick's flight lands 10 a.m. tomorrow. Friend saw him board in LA. I had hours. Unit 17, from the photo, was in the back. Padlocked, no lights. I jimmied it with a crowbar from Mia's trunk, heart pounding, and slipped inside. Jackpot. Boxes, files, a safe. Papers stamped NR Holdings. I tore through, deeds to 2 condos I'd never heard of, stock certificates, and a ledger. My name, over and over, Jess contributions, $40,000 plus. Then Nick scrawl, diverted to fund, parents approved. They'd known I was funding him, not them. Then the safe. Cracked it with mom's birthday, 0315. Inside, cash stacks, $50,000 at least, and a USB drive. I plugged it into my phone. Audio files. Nick's voice. They're fading fast. Crash'll cover it. Jess won't know till it's done. Crash. My parents' accident. Last week. Another file, a woman, mom. Weak, coughing. Nick, you promised she'd be okay. Him. She will, mom, just sign. My knees gave out. He hadn't just stolen, he'd planned their end. Headlights swept the lot. I ducked, shoving the USB in my pocket. A car door slammed, footsteps crunching. She's here. A voice hissed, Nick's finance bro? I bolted out the back, tripping over boxes, and sprinted to Mia's car, peeling out as a figure shouted, Stop! My phone buzzed, Hargrove, police alerted, where are you? I texted, storage, found it. Crash wasn't accident. Tires screeched behind me. I floored it, Nick's goons on my tail, the USB burning a hole in my reality. He didn't just take their money, he took their lives, and I'm the last loose end. I gripped the wheel of Mia's Civic, knuckles white, as the headlights in my rearview flared closer. Nick's goons, or whoever he'd sent, tearing after me through Boulder's dark backroads. The USB in my pocket felt like a live wire, Nick's voice still ringing in my ears. Crash'll cover it. My parents' accident, a twisted guardrail on I-70 a week ago, wasn't fate, it was him. I'd funded their survival, and he'd funded their deaths, all to lock in his fund. My phone buzzed, Hargrove again, police en route, stay alive, Jess. Alive. I was barely breathing, swerving around curves, the engine whining as the car behind me gained. I hit a straight stretch, floored it, and called Mia, voice shaking. Nick's guys, they're on me. Storage unit. He killed them, Mia. She gasped. What? Where are you? Highway 36. Get Hargrove, cops, anyone. The line crackled, then a thud rocked the car, metal screeching as they rammed my bumper. I screamed, veering, tires skidding on gravel. My rearview showed 2 figures, wiry guy from the photo, suit ripped, and a bigger one, face shadowed, gun glinting in his hand. They weren't just chasing, they were hunting. I yanked the wheel, diving onto a side road, narrow, wooded, a gamble to lose them. Branches clawed the windshield, the Civic rattling like it had split apart. The USB bounced out, hitting the floor. I cursed, fumbling for it, and caught Nick's last words again in my head. Jess won't know till it's done. Done. The will, the crash, now me. Tie up the loose ends, cash out the fund. Headlights flared behind. They'd followed, engine roaring like a beast. A gunshot cracked. My side mirror exploded, glass spraying. I ducked, swerving, adrenaline torching my veins. My phone lit up, Hargrove speaker. Jess, where? Cops are 10 minutes out. Side road off 36, pine trees, dirt, they've got guns. Another shot, rear windshield shattered, cold air rushing in. I floored it, spotting a fork. Left to town, right deeper into nowhere. I went right, praying for cover, the Civic's tires screaming. The chase car fishtailed but stuck, wiry guy leaning out, aiming. I jerked left. Bullet pinged the roof. Hargrove, they're gonna kill me, he yelled. Hold on, 5 minutes. 5 minutes was a lifetime. The road dipped, mud slick. I skidded, slamming a tree, Airbag punching my face. Blood trickled, dizzy haze closing in, but I grabbed the USB, bolted out, and ran. Forest swallowing me, their shouts echoing. She's here, find her. Twigs snapped underfoot, lungs burning. I ducked behind a pine, clutching the drive, Nick's ledger flashing in my mind. Jess' contributions, diverted. My money, their deaths, his empire. A flashlight beam swept close. Wiry guy, panting, gun up. Come out, Jess. Nick just wants to talk. Talk. Like he'd talked mom and dad into a ditch? I crawled, mud soaking me, and saw the big one circling. Scarred, mean, a hunter's stride. My phone vibrated. Mia, cops at 36. Where exact? I texted. Woods, North Fork, hurry. A twig snapped, wiry guy spun, beam hitting my leg. There! I bolted, zigzagging, shots popping. Bark splintered beside me. I tripped, fell hard, USB slipping. I snatched it as boots thudded closer. Scarred guy loomed, gun aimed, sneering. End of the line, sweetheart. A siren wailed. Distant, closing. He hesitated, wiry guy yelling, "We gotta go!" I lunged, scrambling downhill, crashing through brush. Lights flashed ahead, red and blue. Cops. I screamed. Here. They swarmed, guns drawn, shouting, "Drop it!" Scarred guy fired once, wild, then bolted with wiry, their car peeling out as police gave chase. I collapsed, mud-caked, USB in my fist, a cop kneeling beside me. You, Jess? You're safe. Safe. I choked a laugh, blood and tears mixing. Hargrove arrived, breathless, prying the drive from me. What's on it? I rasped. Nick killed them. Crash wasn't accident. Proof's there. He plugged it into his tablet. Nick's voice filled the night. Cops listening, faces hardening. Crash'll cover it. Mom's plea. You promised she'd be okay. Hargrove swore. Murder, fraud, he's done. But Nick's flight landed hours ago. He's out there, closing his deal, and those goons aren't done. I'm alive, but the hunt's not over. The cop's flashlight burned my eyes as I sat in the mud, the USB's weight in Hargrove's hands heavier than the gunshots still ringing in my ears. Nick's voice, Crash'll cover it, looped through the chaos, cops barking orders, radios crackling with suspects fled, black SUV. I was alive, barely, blood dripping from my nose, but Nick was out there, his final deal ticking down. Hargrove crouched beside me, face pale under the flashing lights. Jess, this is murder. Conspiracy, minimum. We've got him. Got him. He'd slipped the net, and I'd funded the rope he'd hung my parents with. They hauled me to the station, Boulder PD, a gray box of flickering bulbs and coffee stink. I sat, wrapped in a blanket, as Hargrove played the USB for a detective. Ramirez, stocky, grim. Mom's weak plea, you promised she'd be okay, hit like a fist. Nick's smug reply, she will, just sign, lit a fire in Ramirez's eyes. Car crash last week, 70, he muttered, flipping files. Brake lines cut, ruled accidental till now. This changes everything. I choked. He killed them for money? Ramirez nodded. Looks like it. NR Holdings, his shell, owns condos, stocks, cash. Your contributions seeded it, but he bled them dry first. Mia burst in, wild-eyed, hugging me so hard my ribs ached. Jess, thank God. I tailed Nick's flight. He landed, met some guy at a diner off 28th, then vanished. Cops missed him by minutes. Hargrove swore. That's his deal, selling it all, running. Ramirez radioed units. Suspect Nicholas Ryan, 32, last seen 28th Street. Find him. I clutched Mia, ledger flashing in my mind. Diverted to fund, parents approved. They knew, I rasped. Mom and Dad, they signed it over, trusted him. Ramirez frowned. Maybe coerced. Sick, scared. We'll dig. My phone buzzed, Tara a text. Nick called, panicked, said you're screwing him. He's at the house now. The house, their house, his inheritance, my blood money. I bolted up, shaking off the blanket. He's there, I'm going. Ramirez grabbed my arm. No, Jess. Dangerous. I yanked free. He killed them, took everything. I'm ending this. Hargrove nodded, grim. We'll follow, backups close. Mia drove, me in shotgun, Hargrove and a cruiser trailing. The ranch style loomed dark, Nick's rental car, a sleek Audi, in the drive. Lights flickered inside. He's packing, I thought, fury boiling. I stormed the porch, Mia hissing. Jess, wait! But I kicked the door, hinges cracking. Nick spun from the living room, suitcase open, papers and cash spilling out, eyes wide. Jess! What the? I charged, slamming him against the wall, Mom's scarves tumbling from my bag. You killed them. Break lines, you bastard. I've got proof. He shoved back, sneering. You're crazy. They signed it, Jess. Wanted me set. Your whining funded it. I swung. Fist cracked his jaw. He stumbled, grabbing a lamp, swinging wild. It grazed my shoulder. I tackled him, both of us crashing into the coffee table. Glass shattered, chaos erupting. Mia screamed. Stop! Cops burst in, Ramirez yelling. Hands up! Nick froze, blood trickling from his lip, then laughed, manic. Too late. I sold it. Funds gone, offshore. You've got nothing. Hargrove stepped in, USB raised. Wrong. Murder, fraud. Taped confession. You're cooked. Nick's smirk died as cuffs clicked. Ramirez hauled him up, reading rights. I sank to the floor, glass biting my knees, Mom's scarves tangled around me. The ledger, the deeds, condos, stocks, flashed in my head. It's mine, I whispered. They stole it from me. Hargrove knelt, soft. We'll fight. Fraud voids the will. You've got a case. Nick glared as they dragged him out, spitting. You're still the loser, Jess. Enjoy the scraps. Scraps. I'd built their lives. He'd torched them. Cops found his phone. Texts to finance bro. Deals done. $2 million wired. Meet Belize. Too late, Ramirez grinned. Feds froze it. He's got zip. Days later, I'm back in Denver. Mia's couch my throne. Hargrove filing to reclaim what's mine. House, assets, justice. Nick's locked up, murder charges pending. His goons nabbed 2 states over. Mom and Dad's faces haunt me. Trusting him, betraying me. I funded their end, but I'll bury his empire. The scarves sit boxed, lavender ghosts, and I'm left wondering, was I their rock or just their ATM? That's it, folks. How do you rebuild when your family's the thief?